There we go. Welcome to Overdrive. Mailed in Friday on a long weekend, and there's plenty of stuff going on. Welcome aboard, Jim Tatti and Dave Feschuk from the Toronto Star. Dave, just let me rip through some Olympic stuff, and then we'll chat about that, and I'll line up the show for you. Canadian men's basketball, 3-0 for the men's side, 88-85 over Spain earlier today. Felix Auger-Aliassime will play for bronze medal after he was defeated by Carlos Alcaraz in singles play. In other tennis, he did win a bronze with Gabby Dabrowski as they won their bronze medal mixed doubles, so there's another medal for us. Kylie Mass wins the Olympic bronze women's 200-meter backstroke. Damian Warner second after 3 events at the Olympic decathlon. Sophie Mathot wins the Olympic bronze in trampoline. We just saw the 10,000 and the medal standings are 3, 2, and 6 for 11.
Yeah, we're hanging in.
Yeah,
Canada
almost a medal in the 10,000
Depending on how you do it, if you go by the gold medal standings, we're in 10th. If you go by the total medals, we're a little better than that. So yeah, we're decent Olympics so far.
Yeah, and now with the track, as they call it, the athletics taking over, the track and field, another layer of competition.
Well, and one of the greatest competitions that we've seen at this Olympics resulted in Canada not getting a medal. But what a performance by Mo Amed in the men's 10,000 meter final.
Finished about a couple of minutes ago, and it was, I mean, my line is my car doesn't go that far.
Oh, just incredible. Like when you think about, look, it's Mo Amed, obviously the best distance runner we've ever produced as a country. A good St. Catharines guy like me, so I'm happy for him. He's a much better St. Catharines guy than me. I'm just a St. Catharines guy. He's a yes guy, St. Catharines guy.
I was just about to get there, and you got there for me.
Yeah, I'm glad. It would have been funnier if you would have done it, but I'll take the hit myself. But yeah, a silver in Tokyo in the 5,000, which was incredible. The best we've ever done in that event, the best Canada had ever done in that event. And now this fourth place finish by, as you said, by a sneeze.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, fourth by a sneeze.
What did I say? For the top 4 spots were separated by 0.65 seconds.
Just an incredible finish, an incredible sprint to the line after this incredibly grueling, 10,000 meters of running. That's the best Canada's ever done in that event at an Olympics. So, man, some of these events are just different than others. And to me, running, it's the essential human movement, right? It's what the Olympics are based on. Like it's going back to the ancient times, right? Yeah. It's what humans are designed to do. And to be one of the fastest guys at that distance on this planet, like Mo Amed is continually proven, is just an incredible thing. And I'm in awe, and I'm also a little heartbroken because it's sad to see that he didn't wind up on the podium when he was right there.
Well, I mean, he was there maybe the last 10 steps.
Yeah. It was just great kicks by the American, by the Ugandan. A weird call in the broadcast where they thought the guy that won the race was being lapped by the field at some point, but that happens in broadcasting, as you know,
it does.
Mr. Tatti. Live broadcasting, dangerous business.
What did I say? I said you don't know what they're calling it off.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Who knows? But man, what a race and what a thrill! And it's just a shame it didn't end up with some hardware for Mo Amed, but an incredible performance all the same.
Coming up at the broadcast on Mailed In Friday, Farhan Lalji will be reporting in from NFL camps. He's checking out the Niners. Let's see, at 4:30 we're going to have Yes Guy, No Guy. Doogie will be right between us. He asked earlier where he should sit, and I said, it's only the one chair guy. So I don't know why he asked me that question, but that's at 4:30. At 5:05, Steve Phillips talking Major League Baseball. At 5:30, Javon Shepard talking about that basketball game, which you and I will get into shortly. Bob Weeks at 6:05. At 6:30, Mike McIntyre will stop by and talk about tennis. So Felix Auger-Aliassime wins 1 bronze in mixed doubles and can win another bronze in singles. And this guy, I mean, he played 2 matches yesterday and 2 today.
Oh,
grueling.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he is on a roll, and kind of out of nowhere. I remember, sitting here talking to the great Mark Rowe, the face of tennis in Canada at TSN. And Rowe was talking about how, hey, it's been a tough year for Felix. It's been a tough year for all the Canadians in a lot of ways. You know, this golden generation of tennis talent that Canada's had has stalled a little bit, right? From Denis Shapovalov Bianca Andreescu's had a bit of a renaissance, but she's had some tough times. Milos Raonic is at the tail end of his career. And Felix is, as much as he's shown like really, really tantalizing potential on the men's tour, it hasn't necessarily equated to the kind of results maybe some expected he'd be having by now. But maybe this will be the springboard that takes him forward as a pro, because he's in some heady company here and got a chance at a bronze medal in men's singles and already has the bronze in mixed doubles.
I find, when I'm doing general assumptions, not assumptions, sort of assessing situations, we've got this, there's a Canadian athletic story where there's a deep field you could apply to a lot of things, tennis, women's and men's singles. You could apply it to the soccer situation in terms of, getting to a certain level, especially with the guys, the basketball situation, golf on the PGA Tour. There are Canadian numbers like we've never had before, but still wanting to hit the top floor.
For sure.
Bit of a void there.
Yeah, there is.
In some cases.
Yeah, well, you're right. Like when you think about, men's golf's a good example. We've never had this many PGA Tour players that are this good. Guys making incredible livings, from Corey Connors and Nick Taylor, who both represented Canada at the Olympics, on down through this incredible list of guys from Hadwin to Ben Silverman and Pendrith, yeah. Obviously a winner on the PGA Tour. And I'm not even counting them all. The point is, everybody's kind of tapping their watch going, yeah, but when is one of you guys going to win a major? Like Mike Weir did in 2003. It's been 21 years since Canada has won a men's major. Brooke Henderson's won all kinds of them on the
and Bianca, the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
But it sort of whets the appetite for more.
Yes, it does. And that's a good position to be in because
absolutely.
It's like,
not a complaint.
Hey, you and I watching the Olympics for as many years as we watched them, how long did it take for a guy like Mohamed to show up? Like the 10,000 meters was something, I grew up, you grew up. Canada wasn't involved. It wasn't a factor.
No.
And to have this guy run down the stretch, very much a factor, winning that bronze 3 years ago in Tokyo in the 5,000 in a spectacular performance, and then nearly winning a medal today in the 10,000. That is, you're right. It shows how far Canada's come as a sporting nation.
Absolutely. And then you've got a guy like Damian Warner, second after 3 events of the decathlon, and he's won that before.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like he's among the favorites. So he's rolling along pretty good there, and we'll see how it goes. But some fun times, man. This is really fun. I love waking up in the morning.
Oh, I was just going to go there. And going back to Wimbledon and the Open for golf and the Euros. A lot of the Euro stuff was in our time. Well, no, I guess the Euros wasn't, but the Copa America was.
Yeah.
But to have that, and now this. I mean, this has gone on for 3 or 4 weeks now, where you can wake up in the morning, there's something on. It's the reverse of working nights. And I was spellbound by the Canada-Spain game today.
What a game.
88-85, and I ran into Leo Routens in the hall. We're going to have Javon Shepard on at 5:30. Leo said Spain was playing for their lives, obviously, right?
Oh, they're incredibly tough.
Yeah,
Spain's not as talented as Canada, but they're as tough as anyone. Like, they are a tough team. They play basketball the right way. Got this incredible culture of selflessness, of drive and kick. Sergio Scariolo, former Raptors assistant, knows a thing or two about trick defenses, having spent some time on the bench with Nick Nurse during the 2019 Raptors championship run. They pulled out the box and won on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. they pulled out every stop trying to beat Canada and nearly did.
Yeah.
But, RJ Barrett made that big 3 down the stretch to make it a 5-point game. Some big buckets from Andrew Nemhart off the bench.
Yeah.
He, to me, was the revelation of the game in a lot of ways. Not that we didn't know he was a big-time player, but that was a big-time performance. And Canada's 3-0. They're turning into a bit of a juggernaut here.
They are. R.J. Barrett had 16 points, turnovers for points, 15 for 21 for Team Canada. So, I mean, that's what they do. They're relentless. And so you could say they bend but don't break. And they almost, Spain pushed them to the point of maybe snapping, but they bounce back. Yeah. Their response when the game's on the line is pretty remarkable.
And it's not just one guy.
No, it's a team.
Like, I think everybody expects, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be there for you Although it's kind of weird that he's missing free throws all of a sudden since he's like a 90% NBA free throw shooter.
It's the MVP chant in the background.
I don't know what it is, but let's hope he figures that out. He's been working on his stroke at the line a lot before the shots, but hasn't been making them at his normal clip, which is a little disconcerting because you're going to need to make some big shots down the stretch and probably from the free throw line if you're Shai.
Yeah.
But we all expect him to be a big time player, but with Jamal Murray not really being a factor.
No rhythm.
No rhythm, and there's acknowledgement that he's kind of on a minutes restriction, and he's coming off the bench, and he's not championship level Jamal Murray right now. We can all see that with our own eyes. It's not like Canada doesn't have other options, right? Like Nemhart. Nemhart was a case in point today.
Well, in the past, that would have been a reason for it not working out.
Right.
This guy wasn't healthy. Not an issue
then we
here.
were in trouble. But here we even without Andrew Wiggins, and there are many who lament Andrew Wiggins not being there because he's obviously a guy that could really help you. Not too long ago, a few years ago, he was the second best player on a championship team in Golden State. You could use him, but you don't need him. You got RJ Barrett stepping up again with a big performance. You've got Nemhart, and you've got plenty of guys that you feel like you're comfortable with that are going to make a play at the right time.
I think it's an easy thing to say is we've never had a men's basketball team look like that.
No. And to your point about another game where they get a bunch of points off turnovers, I think it was 28 points off turnovers against Australia, 21 today against Spain. Isn't it wonderful to see this team full of NBA stars who all have, many tens of millions of dollars in the bank, playing with defensive intensity. Of hungry guys who still trying to make it. These guys they play like they're not proven, even though they're proven.
That's right. That's a good way to put that.
And I love that about this team. And it's Lou Dort setting that tone, and Dylan Brooks setting that tone, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's no slouch on the defensive side of the ball, helping to set that tone. And when you have that much buy-in from big-name NBA guys, everybody else is buying in too.
Dort and Brooks alone are worth the price of admission. Those two guys
fun.
are relentless.
I love it because it's lunch pail basketball, right? It's very Canadian. Like it's like hockey basketball.
Well, it's kind of how the Raptors have to play.
Yeah. Well, they're not playing like that.
I know, but when you see RJ,
I know
you look and go, okay, so I want to see how this works with Scotty and Quickly because there's obviously more layers to RJ Barrett than when he first got here, which was only months ago.
Hey, we had Jama Malalela, the Raptors assistant coach, on this very show a couple weeks back, and he was saying that very thing, that, we know RJ can score. We want to see RJ play defense. And he talked about speaking to RJ in the lead up to the Olympics about the fact that, hey, let's use the Olympics as sort of a leapfrog into an NBA season, and let's talk about the defensive aspect of the game, because that's obviously a weak spot. And I think it's often a weak spot for guys who grow up as top scorers on top teams.
Well, sure.
Go to top schools, get drafted high, and they make their money. Let's face it, people make their money in this sport on numbers, on the offensive side of the basketball. So outside of a few guys who make money as defensive specialists or 3-and-D guys, you're making your money because you score. And so that's why you have to appreciate what we're watching here, Mr. Tatti. Like, to get a team to play this kind of defense at this level with this stature of player, it's not an easy feat. So Jordi Fernandez deserves credit, and I think the players themselves and the internal policing that goes on in a locker room deserve a lot of credit.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Jordi Fernandez. Every time I talk about this team, I go to him. I just think he's a marvelous coach. Can't wait to see what he does with the Nets. And to your point about, star power, I mean, SGA is as good as you get. You don't see any ego when he plays.
No, not at all.
No.
He's a good Hamilton guy, and he understands it's all about the team. Like, it's not about – you never get the sense it's about him, right? You never get the sense it's about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I just love looking in the glass with the lights because he can't – they're trying to tell me that Farhan Lalji is here. And Farhan, welcome. How are you today, sir?
Good. I'm not a good Hamilton boy. I generally think about myself, but I'm good nonetheless.
Well, you're recently down at the Niners camp, or maybe you're still there. What's going on?
I am there, in fact. We're just leaving. We're getting set up to do our talkbacks with our hosts at TSN. But, yeah, it's an interesting situation here. A lot of teams around the league are dealing with some level of holdout. We saw that with the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb, who were there a couple of days ago, and then today here with Trent Williams, the offensive tackle, and Brandon Aiyuk, the receiver, that are both either holding out or holding in, but either way, not on the field practicing with this team, and those are pretty key components to what they do offensively. So, they got some work to do. I don't think they're overly stressed about the ability to get it done, but both of the situations are a little bit different. And, they're in a situation this year where they get one more shot at taking advantage of Brock Purdy's deal. And then in the offseason, he's due a new deal at that point, or can get a new deal at that point. So I certainly expect that to happen. And everything that happens now is within the context of that deal coming down the road, especially when you see what guys like Tua and Jordan Love are making. So, I get why they're being cautious, but ultimately, if they don't get those two guys done, this team's not a contender.
Well, what's your sense of the situation, Farhan, when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk? Because this has been the central storyline of the 49ers lead up to training camp here, but what it's going to look like. Can they trade him? Can they sign him? Will he be happy? Will he be unhappy? Purdy's good, but he needs somebody to throw the ball to, and where do you see it landing?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you see what some of these guys have been paid this year, and, maybe he's not as productive as, say, a CD Lamb, but, he's right up there with guys like Jamar Chase and, in terms of elite level production and guys that are looking for more money. And $30 million a year seems to be the baseline, right? If you're Lamb, you're looking probably for closer to 35 in Justin Jefferson's deal, and you think your stats can back that up. And so often in these contracts, it becomes not necessarily about the first term and first total number that you hear. It generally is about the guarantee, not even the AAV. But I can't see a world where he takes less than $30 million. And these guys just extended Juwan Jennings. They got Christian McCaffrey done as well, kind of more restructures, but restructures with extensions. They dealt with it a year ago with Debo, and now it's his turn. But yesterday he shows up to training camp, and the first thing he does is go to John Lynch and go to Kyle Shanahan, and gives him big bro hugs, and everybody's happy, and it all looks good. And again, talking to Kyle Shanahan about it today, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of stress around the situation during training camp. That I think everybody's optimistic, because I think the Niners are operating from a position of, we are not trading the guy. I don't care what he wants. I don't care if he wants to get traded. We are not trading this guy, and they'll figure it out.
As you know, Nathan Rourke let go by the Giants, picked up by Atlanta, but it seems that wherever he goes, he's Mr. Number 4. I don't know how this works out. I'd like your thoughts on that. And when it doesn't work out, as we assume it will, which has nothing to do with his ability, he does come back to the CFL, right?
I don't know that he'll come back right away, right? I mean, If he loses the third-string job to Taylor Heineke and gets cut in September, I don't think he's coming back. I think he'll find another spot to land on the practice roster. Personally, I don't think this is a good fit for him. Now, you can look at it and say, well, Kirk Cousins is getting older. He's coming off an Achilles, and Michael Penix Jr. might have been the Heisman runner-up and led college football in passing the last 2 years. But prior to that in Indiana, he had injuries. So, you could look at it from that lens. But I look at it from, hey, these guys just spent 4 years and $180 million on Kirk Cousins, and they're tied to him heavily financially for the next 2 years. So they've got their quarterback of the present. Then you got Michael Penix Jr., who is an elite talent, as they're discovering right now in training camp with his ball placement and his pure arm talent. And you take him with the 8th overall pick in the draft. That's your quarterback of the future, and he knows what it's like to be behind an eminently talented quarterback in Jacksonville that's the quarterback of their present and their future, right? I mean, you can say that Trevor Lawrence is overrated, but, they've invested a lot, and rightfully so, based on his body of work when he came into the league. So, he knows what that looks like. And so, to me, I would not have signed the first deal that came to my attention. I know he had a good workout, and there's some people that are in that building that he felt good about, but I wouldn't have done this. I would have waited for guys like, you saw Justin Herbert, who just got hurt. Not that the Chargers are a better situation, but you're going to find places around the league where guys get hurt. But I do think that he's got a heavy desire to get into preseason games right away. And the longer he waits, the harder that becomes. But I don't think Atlanta's a great fit for him. And I do think that he can beat out Taylor Heineke, and I think the finances around Taylor Heineke's deal don't prevent that from happening. So if the club decides that they can use him as a trade chip and that Heineke's a good number 2 elsewhere and they can get something for that, they can move on, and it's not a big deal. Like if they could even cut him, and there's really no issue there. But again, now you're still a number 3, which means no practice reps either.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. We all know the quality of this guy, but it just seems like some sort of divine intervention has to step in to create the opportunity for him.
It does, right? And this was the chance he took. And I bought it last year when he said, look, I want to take a stable situation. And, and he also got a guarantee of a bonus, and all of that factored in. But, imagine if he had gone to, say, Arizona, and their quarterback situation with Kyler Murray hurt was a disaster. So if you look at that, you think that's a really unstable situation. I don't need to be a part of that. But from that came Clayton Tune. Who the heck is Clayton Tune? Well, he's probably going to be the number 2 guy and got to play in NFL regular season games. Or you could go to a place like the Raiders, which, quarterback-wise is a bit of a disaster. But there's opportunity there because the guys in front of you, like you look at the Raiders this year in camp and last year in camp, these guys aren't performing well. Right? So it kind of is a situation set up to fail on some levels because maybe they want to draft the guy high next year. They almost did that this year. But, so if you go to a less stable situation, there's a downside, but there's also a potential upside. He went stable last year. I personally would like to see him go unstable this year and see where that takes him. But, yeah, I look at Atlanta, and I think that's far too stable in my books.
Hey, Farhan, I was interested if you took note of the new kickoff rules they instituted last night in the Hall of Fame preseason game, the first of many preseason games that most of us will not watch. But I was watching a little bit just to see what these kickoff rules are going to do. I guess they're trying to get less touchbacks. They had 73% of kickoffs resulting in touchbacks last year. They want to lower that percentage. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's more about bringing the touchback back, bringing the return back, but also doing it in as safe a way possible. So I think it's kind of messy, right? I mean, I think it's a good idea, and the spring leagues tried it, and they had some success with it. So you're forcing a return, but you're also not putting guys in a position where they can take 40-yard runs at each other. They're just 5 yards apart or 10 yards apart, and it's much more manageable. But I think it's going to take time for special teams coordinators to figure out how best to take advantage of this because, the blocking angles and the speed and the techniques change a lot, right? Like you saw a lot of techniques previously where guys would just, sprint in front of a player that was running down covering kicks, and they would just try to cut him off with speed. Well, those techniques which you've taught forever are kind of obsolete now, right? So just watching the drill progression and how the 49ers were trying to do it today and how the Chargers tried to do it earlier, I think it's going to take time for them to develop techniques and drills to work to teach it properly. I don't think it's going to look great. You might see some good returns, but you probably see them more because of mistakes than you are because of good return schemes.
Do you think, sorry, Dan,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, if this one doesn't work, like the last one really wasn't working, the last way they tried it didn't really work, there was just too many touchbacks. This one, as you say, it'll take time, but they'll figure it out. But if it doesn't work, do you think it will come to a point where they just say, let's just ditch the kickoff? Like, we don't need it anymore. Just change possession. You take the ball here, and away you go.
Yes, I do. And, and I think that'd be the right thing to do. And you see it with PATs, right? How leagues are moving the kicks back because basically when you snap from the 3, these things are ceremonial, right? Like you need to make them harder or why have them at all? So, what all they did previously is they just changed distances, right? And guys get stronger. They can still kick it out of the end zone, and it doesn't really do what you want it to do. But where the safety is the issue, like this is not about the aesthetics of a return or creating more excitement in a return. This is about keeping the return in the game, but doing it in a safer way. So ultimately, if there's no way to do that, I think they'll take it out. But I do think, the NFL doesn't admit failure often, Dave. So I think they're going to stick with this for a little while and make sure that they've exhausted all of it before they throw the baby out and say no more kickoffs. But that probably is the next step.
Farhan, CFL action tonight on TSN. Alouettes in Hamilton against the Ticats. Davis Alexander makes his first start in the CFL going up against the veteran Bo Levi Mitchell. And what are your thoughts on Davis Alexander and what he can bring to the Owls?
I like him. I really do. And, I liked Cameron Dukes when he was in Toronto. And then after the first couple of games, teams started defending him differently, and he wasn't able to kind of maintain that level. And I hope that doesn't happen with Alexander. A year ago when I talked to Danny Machocha about him, he was very bullish on this player. And we saw in the third quarter of the last game that when this kid's on, he's really, really good. So I do think he has a few more of these in him. And I look at Hamilton's defense and, I know they tried to simplify things last week, which was good for them, but I look at Montreal's receiving core and just how they can attack. I think Davis Alexander is going to be in a good position to have more success in this game.
Well, Farhan, I'm just going to ask you when you think about the NFL season coming up, Are you excited about any particular team that's off the radar? Like we had an NFL discussion yesterday, and we had somebody say that the Detroit Lions, the ancestral team of the great Jim Tatti, are going to be in the Super Bowl this year. That felt like an off the radar pick. Do you have an off the radar pick for this NFL season?
Yeah, truthfully, I don't know that Detroit is off the radar because, they were close last year. They really should have beaten San Francisco, right? I mean, they made some coaching errors in that game, and they were right there in the conference championship game. So to say they can be in the Super Bowl, I don't think is that much of a stretch.
Well, they are Detroit. They are Detroit.
They are Detroit. There's no doubt about it. And I do think San Francisco is still better. But I'll tell you this, like that division, the NFC North, that's going to be a heavyweight division because, Green Bay is going to take a step. Chicago's got so much young talent on that team. They can take a step. I think it's going to be, and I like it. Like, I think it's going to be a real competitive division from start to finish that if you can get through, you should view yourself a contender. But, I think Houston's that sexy team that people think might be able to take the next step after what C.J. Stroud did a year ago. I think they might take a step back. They won so many one-score games last year. I think that kind of sets you up for a level of regression. I still think Kansas City's the team to beat because they did it with no receivers last year. They can't get worse in that position. They added Hollywood Brown. They added Xavier Worthy. Rasheed Rice, if he can, stay on the field and not find himself behind bars, I think will be even better this year. He was really talented as a rookie last year. So I think that team has an even better level that they can get to that's going to force a lot of teams like Buffalo and Cincinnati and Houston to really, really evaluate themselves and be on top of their game from start to finish because I think, Kansas City, and I know it's boring because we're used to seeing them win, but they were really, really ordinary all year and they still won the Super Bowl. They're not going to be ordinary again.
Farhan, enjoy San Francisco. Whatever you do, don't leave your heart there.
Take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
See you, Dave.
Farhan Lalji reporting to us from San Francisco. So you just trashed Cody Decker, my new main man.
That's right. I was blanking on Cody's name.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trashing him. But you were shocked when he said it.
Well, I think it, but when it comes from a credible source,
I
don't think I've ever, the great thing about where the Lions are now, sometimes when you get a description, you go, I've never heard those words in the same sentence for this team.
Yes. This is just shocking to you.
It is.
You've loved this team your whole life, you've never been in the middle of a situation where people are saying they could make the Super Bowl.
It helps you accept defeat.
Does it?
Well,
or does it just heighten the disappointment?
No,
when you
there is no disappointment because you had no expectations.
So when did you reach the no expectations point with the Detroit Lions?
Decades ago.
As a young man?
Yes, absolutely.
Your teenage years?
Oh, I used to always say that the Lions Super Bowl was Thanksgiving Day. Nothing ever happened after that.
That's right. And they still always play on Thanksgiving at least.
Yes, yeah, that's right. They're always on. So it's like the 12:30 game on Thanksgiving. There's the Lions season goodbye. What really upset me last year was, why did you go? Why did you do the go for it on that play? Well, that's how we got here. But you're here now, and you don't do that in an NFC title game. So my fear still is because of all those Lions losses, they'll get in the Super Bowl and pull some bonehead play and never go back.
Man, wouldn't that be something?
No, it wouldn't.
No. Well, hey.
It'd be something if they won.
As somebody who grew up a Bills fan, I wouldn't necessarily be shedding many tears for you.
Yeah, 4 straight.
If they lost the Super Bowl.
4 straight. That had to be tough.
Hey, at least they got there.
I know, but 4 times in a row.
But you take it, right? Just getting there.
I don't know. That was a diminishing asset. They lost by more points each game, each year.
Wide right, and it got worse from there.
Yeah, that was as close as they got.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's enough of the pain. Coming up next, Yes Guy, No Guy. So Doogie will come in and join us, and JP's got to move the furniture around. Overdrive continues on TSN2, TSN 1050, the iHeartRadio app, and streaming online. Oh, Yes Guy, just a half hour in. Doogie is so excited. I mean, he came out here to just a ear-to-ear grin, and he's all fired up to play
Yes Guy, No Guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, drivers and passengers, time now for the Overdrive edition of Yes Guy, No Guy. You all set?
I am ready to go, Tatti. But first, before we go, it is a pleasure to see that live. Like right beside you, to hear that tagline.
Really?
Yeah.
I could record it for you, or I could do a video.
But it's a little different when you're right beside
I mean, that's kind
the man himself.
of weird that you'd want the video.
Is it weird, though?
Yeah,
it's not that weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Is it? Okay.
Anyway, go ahead, sir.
Let's start off We saw Canada pick up an 88-85 win over Spain to top the group of death, people were calling it.
Yeah, they killed the group of death. Did you know that?
They did.
Yeah.
All done.
Yeah.
And they clinched Group A, and they'll play Tuesday to look ahead to their gold medal quest. So a big part of that was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander chipping in for 20 points, doing a lot of his damage at the free throw line. That's where Canada really needs the most, guys. So my question to you, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is already the most talented Canadian basketball player of all time. Yes guy, no guy.
Well, I'm a no guy.
Yeah.
He's got the potential to be that, no doubt. He's got the potential to be that. But let's hold on and crowning him the greatest. Steve Nash, a little guy named Steve Nash, is already in the Hall of Fame. 5th all-time on the all-time assist list. 2-time NBA MVP. That's a pretty good resume Steve Nash put together. So I'm going to stick with Steve Nash for now, but Shai's on track.
Would he need to win like an NBA title / MVP to get in that category? Because this is outside of like an international scale. This could be in the NBA as well.
Hey, the Olympics would help. Nash never won a medal. If you win a
MVP.
medal here as the best player on the team, that's a big check mark on your resume.
Agreed.
But yeah, and Nash never won a title, never got to a finals. So there's those things you can do and definitely distance yourself in the conversation.
Yeah. I may have to launch an appeal. I believe you've asked me this in a yes guy, no guy on another show about a year ago. And my answer was exactly what he said. Nash is the guy right now. SGA will get there, but he's not there yet.
No guy.
There you go.
Thank you, JP.
That's a really fair point. Like, it's just going to become like where the accolades come for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
He'll get them.
He's amongst the top 5 best players in the NBA at this point. One of the best players in this tournament. Today showed it. Just the gratitude that he puts on the court every day. They'll need him to step up in a huge situation. So
supplemental, yes guy, no guy.
Okay.
If he leads this team to a gold medal, does that change your answer?
It's getting me closer.
Yeah.
It's getting me closer.
Yeah.
It's just about, you got to do it a little longer. Maybe achieve something Nash hasn't achieved. Those 2 MVPs are pretty hard to argue against.
Yeah.
It is.
But the fact that Nash didn't win anything at in the NBA or as a member of the national team, or that hurts him.
It does. And the way he does it on both sides of the floor, we know Jordi Fernandez has prioritized defense for that team.
Yep.
So a lot of good signs for Shai, and this could be at the top list one day. Let's switch our gears, boys. Blue Jays, Yankees tonight in the Bronx. Kevin Gausman, Marcus Stroman, a familiar face that Blue Jays faithful does know of. My question to you guys, yes guy, no guy, the New York Yankees are the most dangerous team in Major League Baseball this season.
Oh, I'm going to say yes guy to that. Dead heated with Baltimore as the weekend starts. Bulked up at the trade deadline. Absolutely yes guy on that.
Look, when you think about it, you've got a lineup that has at its core Soto and Judge. I mean, that's pretty dangerous,
Nasty.
But I'm a no guy on this. They've got some holes. They don't have the requisite depth throughout the lineup that scares you. Now they're hot right now. It's easy to say they're dangerous when they've won 6 in a row. They're coming, they're rolling pretty good. But there have been moments this season, and I live with a Yankee fan, so I watch a lot of Yankee games. There's been moments this season where people have been down on Brian Cashman, saying the team's not deep enough. Obviously, the fact that the pitching staff hasn't exactly been bulletproof.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole, we heard Cody Decker say it yesterday, a former college teammate of Garrett Cole, saying that he's sort of still rounding into form, given that he missed spring training and he's late in the developmental process this year. So if Cole heats up and the supplementary players step up, then I think it could be a yes guy. But right now, for me, I'm more afraid of Baltimore. I might be more afraid of a little guy named Shohei Ohtani in the LA Dodgers.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
Oh, so that's like a directional yes guy,
Well,
no guy.
No, it wasn't part of a yes guy question. I wanted to go to the FanDuel Sportsbook odds. LA Dodgers at plus 330 at the top for the World Series. The Philadelphia Phillies at plus 490, and then the New York Yankees at plus 550. So third on the list, and then there's Baltimore, the Braves, and so on. But Anthony Rizzo returning, Giancarlo Stanton returning.
Stan was a stiff last year.
He was.
We'll see what he does this year.
It depends.
If Stanton hits, it starts getting really scary.
That's it. It's a dream situation for a baseball fan like Orioles Yankees. To see them play at least once would be insane to me. Let's stick with baseball. Let's go a little bit more local with our Blue Jays. We know it's been a tough year for this man, Bo Bichette. But the Blue Jays should most definitely sign Bo Bichette to a long-term deal in Toronto. Yes guy, no guy.
I'd be a yes guy if they're getting him at a discount because he's coming off a bad year. My thing is, I don't think he's going to sign coming off a bad year because that's not smart. That's not smart baseball. He's the son of a longtime major leaguer. He's not a dumb guy. He has no leverage right now. This is not a good moment for him to be on the market talking about pricing himself for the next X number of years. I think they're probably going to wait. I could be wrong on that, but if you can get him now, coming off this disappointing moment in his career, I think you get him at a pretty good price.
Yeah, I would say yes, guy, to that based on what you just said. I want to go back to what Cody Decker said yesterday about all that information overload. Somebody in that organization is going to know exactly why, and he probably knows exactly why it's not happening. You'd love to know that answer, just because he's capable. There's no argument about that.
Been a lot of speculation. It's just a bit about health,
Yeah.
And a lot of talking points around Bo Bichette this year. If you look at his track record, leading the league in hits in 2 seasons, 191, 189, and then you go to 61 hits on the only 68 hits on the year, boys.
That's bizarre.
It's kind of track record of what it was in 2019 when he was a rookie, and he was doing that then. And yes, I get it. Injuries are a prominent reason for Bo Bichette this year. Before I move on, I just got to say, there was a couple interviews throughout the year that kind of tipped, from other reporters around the league asking if he wants to get traded, and there was no pointing to yes, I want to leave, yes, I want to stay. It was kind of in the middle. So there's a lot of different answers, and the Blue Jays will have to make some moves.
Hey, we've been waiting for the Blue Jays to make some moves for quite some time, and I have a feeling we might keep waiting a while.
I think that's that, but they have a lot of good prospects in the system now, so a lot to look forward to.
They hope. They're all lottery tickets, Doogie. They're all lottery tickets.
Kylie McDaniel, who we had on the show yesterday, was pretty high on them, though.
Yeah.
He was, yeah.
He was. All right, let's shift our gears to some hockey action. Easton Cowan, a bright spot at Hockey Canada, will probably be part of the World Junior fixture, but Easton Cowan, Maple Leaf conversation is also picking up. So yes guy, no guy, Easton Cowan will play at least one game with the Maple Leafs this season. We saw what he did with London, pick up an OHL championship, MVP, breaking records. Should the Leafs kind of open up the door here and say he might be part of this team next season? But all I'm asking is one game.
At least one game is a yes guy.
But in the regular season, not the preseason.
The odds are if it's one game, it's 8.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You give him a little test.
So I'm asking, that's it. Is he going to play?
What you're asking, are they going to keep him after camp?
That's correct.
I would say no guy to that.
Okay.
I think I don't think it's going to hurt him to be a star in the World Juniors. I mean, he could do that and play in the NHL too, but I think they're just going to let that take its course.
Well, I'm just looking at last year. It was Fraser Minton, right?
Yeah.
Played 4 games with the Leafs, and then it was over. But it was a nice run. He showed that
Didn't hurt him.
Didn't hurt him. Definitely gave the Leafs a good look at what he is, what he needed to work on, how they could build a developmental plan for him for the year to come. And if all goes well, not that they have a great track record of building this incredible developmental pipeline of late, but if indeed they certainly spent a lot of money trying to do it, I would think the same kind of blueprint would apply to Easton Cowan and in his age 19 season, where you'd say, give him a little test run, give him a little taste of the NHL. So it's, the next time's not his first time, and then we'll see how it goes. Still let him play in the World Juniors because why not?
Well, you can, yeah. Yeah, that's not an issue. Well, we'll see. I just, for him, the star player, they have enough star players, so you let him make the team as a star player and not.
Well, that's a good point.
Not
that's
not
the
in
other
the
side
lower part of the roster.
Do you want him to be a bottom 6 guy?
Yeah, because that's where he's going to play.
Yeah, but third
now,
it's not like there's chock full of third liners right now.
No.
It's they need a little depth. There's a lot of talk that they wouldn't mind a very young, cheap guy to come in there and make them a proposition they can't refuse, which is you need me.
I think we'd all like to see that. I don't know if it happens.
It's true. 19 goals. One more for you guys. Sticking on the goal conversation, we saw Alex Ovechkin. I have no idea where this was in Europe, but he's playing soccer and he's doing pretty well, staying in shape throughout the offseason. And we know once the NHL season starts, the conversation will be a lot about him breaking number 99's record, the goal scoring record. So yes guy, no guy. Alex Ovechkin will break Wayne Gretzky's goal scoring record this season.
Oh, well, what does he need?
This season, he needs 41 to match and 42 to break this season.
No, guy. No.
You already know, guy. You don't think he can do it?
Not this year, next year.
Well, he's coming up. Look, I'm going to go yes guy on this because I like where you're going with this, dude. You like the idea that maybe he's putting a little extra effort in, a little extra off-season work to try and get up to speed because he had a very slow start last year.
Like
very slow
first
start.
half of the season.
Yeah, the first half of the season was basically he didn't even look like he could keep playing in the league. He was such a non-factor. But he did end up with 31 goals, right? So if you take out that slow start, you sort of prorate it the back half of the year, then he was playing it better than 41 goal pace.
I'd say so.
So I like it, but it's going to your point, Doogie, it's going to come down to health.
It sure will. And I'd say the Capitals made some improvements this offseason, too. Pierre-Luc Dubois coming in. We'll see if that is a rebound in his career. They still have a pretty solid team going. I don't know if it's playoff level, but it could definitely reach.
There's 3 or 4 teams that are about a point away from each other.
That's it.
Right.
Or like a tiebreaker away.
What's Washington going to do in the standings? So based on what I'm seeing here, he's putting himself in that perfect shape. And we know he's playing until he breaks that record. It's just a matter of if it's going to happen this season. 42 is a lot for a guy of his age and that stature.
He'll
but
be 39 when the season starts,
there you
right?
go.
He's not a young man.
Sometimes age doesn't matter. Look, LeBron James in the Olympics right now.
Doogie?
And I heard Russia had a state-sponsored sort of deal going with some of their athletes. I don't know what it was all about.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Pleasure, boys. Pleasure.
Our thrill, believe me.
Thank you.
All right, okay, coming up at the top of the hour, Steve Phillips will stop by, and we've got some things to talk about. In the meantime, as Overdrive continues on TSN2, TSN 1050, the iHeartRadio app, and streaming online. Got to put the mic on first. Overdrive, Jim Tatti and Dave Feschuk with you, taking it up to the top of the hour. Then Steve Phillips will join us. Overdrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything, this guy, from the opening line to the final score. Okay, we're a little busy in here because Doogie had to move out.
Yes.
It took him a little while. JP stiffed him, so he had to move out himself.
Yeah, that was heavy lifting there. He brought a whole setup in. He brought the laptop, the phone, the notebook, and also the charger.
I know. I said that segment's only 3.5 minutes. Are you that low on your battery?
You must have been. The battery must have just been on the last legs.
I mean, give him points for being prepared for disaster. I mean, that's what you want your producer to do.
Yeah,
we don't need the charger. It doesn't matter. It's here. Right?
It's a professional move.
I think so.
Professional move.
Kids rising in stock, I got to say.
Yeah, he didn't get this gig by accident.
No, now I'm starting to realize that.
At first, it may have seemed like that.
5 days into this, I'm starting to realize, hey, this kid knows what he's doing. Okay.
Yes, guy.
Had to do that. Sorry, Doogie. I have utmost respect. No question about that.
Total respect.
Yeah, we should do like an Olympic update here as soon as I find my
great idea.
update.
Well, how about let's update the situation with the men's basketball team.
Yeah.
Because right now you're looking at, because they're 3-0, but the point differential situation, which we all hate, but the point differential is very influential in the Olympic situation. It's looking like it's going to be USA number 1 seed, Germany number 2 seed based on point differential, and Canada at 3. And then, but exactly who they're going to play in the quarterfinal, we will not know that until they draw after the last game of the group stage tomorrow. So this comes down to lottery, like who you're going to be facing in a lot of ways. So, but the bottom line is, because they're in the 3rd seed, they can theoretically, if they get lucky here, avoid the U.S. Until the goal game.
But you're going to play them anyway. But you don't want that earlier action to get in the way of the ultimate medal.
Well, you'd rather be playing them in the gold medal game.
That's right. Yeah.
Than in a semi.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that'd be I know we're going to see it at some point. That's got to be the most fascinating one-off basketball game in quite some time.
I would say so.
Yeah.
How about the biggest game in the history of Canadian basketball?
Well, I would agree with that.
if it comes down to that.
Yeah.
It would be like, I guess.
I would be really fascinated to watch it and to see how it's played.
Yeah.
All those NBA players with FIBA.
FIBA rules, FIBA refs.
Yeah, which I like because there's no you're going to get away with this.
Well, you're always shaking your head. I mean, look, we're at the point where we all shake our head at referees in every league, in every situation. We've got no tolerance for human error. as Hayes likes to call it.
Well,
But
that's because of the replay system.
yeah,
The big line was, we'll get it right. Well, we'll get the things we review right, but everything else
yeah,
is subjective.
going to be some judgment call there until we hand it over to the AI bots.
That's right.
It's probably going to happen at some point. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. It really is.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can get this in 30 seconds. Mail It In Friday is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Boston Pizza serving fish bowls and ice-cold pints in the patio all summer long. So grab your sunscreen. Let's have ourselves a weekend. The Boston Pizza patio is calling. Plenty of time left. Plenty of time.
All right.
Yeah. So
Professional read there.
it was. Well, I mean, I've never even seen that copy. Usually I kick it around 3 or 4 times before I feel comfortable.
You still got it.
Unbelievable. Well, Boston Pizza, patio, beer, pizza,
What's not to like?
pretty comfortable stuff.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Overdrive continues on TSN 2 and TSN 1050.